Hi, my name is Sabu Francis, and I am the founder of Lyman Leap Labs. We have a product called Homing Space, which is very new and a very interesting and a very important method of authenticating and authorizing your personal data at various locations, especially on the internet. Now, in this particular talk, I will like to explain to you what is the OAuth system which is currently prevalent. You may have seen OAuth being used in another way. It may not be specified as OAuth. Programmers know what this is and where it is used, but regular users would see this OAuth system in the way of login through Facebook or login through Twitter or login through Google. That is the way by which regular end users have seen the OAuth system. Now, OAuth system is quite confusing, to be very honest, and it is confusing even for programmers who program in OAuth. And it is further complicated because that particular programming is slightly distorted for the corporate interest of this in separate websites. Like Facebook has got their own version of OAuth, Google has got a slightly modified version of OAuth, Twitter has their version of OAuth, and so on and so forth. So the OAuth was supposed to be a standard system which programmers could adopt. Unfortunately, that standard got distorted as per the individual interests of these corporate entities. In this talk, I'll explain OAuth using this tiny little booklet, which is a list of, it's a menu supplied by this nice cute little restaurant at Vashi, Navi Mumbai. If you're here, you can order from them. I'm not their advocate as such, but it's a nice little place and it's quite cheap food. And they give this booklet for people who want to order from home. So let us pretend that this is ordering service, food ordering service, and then you have your login into this system here, and it turns out that another shop which has opened nearby, they have their ordering system here, and they are waiting for customers, and they don't have a way to get new customers. So they notice that people have already enrolled into this particular system, and therefore they are wanting to ride on top of that, which is a very good reason, right? Why do websites try to say that login through Facebook and login through Google? Because they may be a new website and they want to get in their customers very fast. And since Facebook already has 3 billion users, they are hoping that some of those users would be able to use their offering very easily because it reduces the friction of entry. Otherwise, they'll have to say, okay, you're interested in my product. Okay, please register first, get your username set, your password set, and so on and so forth. And there itself, a lot of people go off because they don't want to set up a new username and password there. So this system using OAuth, by which a particular website can ride on top of the registrations which are already happening in Facebook, that's pretty popular. A lot of people use it. A lot of companies use it, a lot of websites use it. So let's see how that works. This is meant for programmers who want to understand what is the OAuth system, and I'm obviously simplifying many things, but the basic essence of how this works you would get to know. Now let's say that like I told you before, you have a username and password for this particular shop here, but you don't have a username and password here, and this shopkeeper is now wanting to get you to come into their shop using the username and password system which you already have here. Now, one very stupid way or a very silly way is for this shopkeeper to say that please give me your username and password here, and I will go on your behalf and check whether you are really a member here, and if you are, then I will allow you to use this. Now that is pretty silly, because if you hand over your username and password to this new guy here, obviously in your absence he can go there and do some hanky-panky here. So that's not really a good method, that you hand over the username and password of your account somewhere else. So that's why obviously you're not going to give your Facebook username and password to somebody else. You are going to hold it very dear to yourself. So now what does this guy do? Because he cannot obviously ask for your username and password. What he does is a little interesting, that before all this has happened, he and this guy has made an arrangement for them to recognize each other's signatures. So that's it's in the back end, these people have done and made an agreement. Some secret codes and all has been agreed upon between this guy and this guy. So now you have come to this particular site and you're waiting outside, you can't enter. So he says that, do you have an account here? You say yes. So he said, wait a minute, and he goes at the back and then comes to this guy. And remember, they had exchanged, these two owners here, they had exchanged some signatures and all. He asked this guy, just generate one code, please. Write something on a sheet of paper and sign it the way we had agreed upon. Remember, we had exchanged some secret keys and all that. So this guy, where you do have an account, remember, you're still waiting here. So this guy then quickly signs something, hands it over to him, that sheet of paper. That sheet of paper comes to you, you're standing outside. Remember, you're not yet got in. Now, that there's an implicit arrangement saying that once it is gives to you, you are supposed to go here, get that sheet further countersigned by this guy, right? Now you have an account here, right? So if you have not logged in here earlier, this guy will say, okay, please log in. You log in here, and he then looks at the sheet and he says, yeah, this sheet was given by me to him and it has finally reached here. It's completed a circuit here. And he countersigns that and then gives it back to you. You come out of that and then go back with that sheet. This guy notices that it was that original sheet which he had picked up from here, which is further countersigned, which said that you are here, you are a member here. So he is happy and you are now allowed to use this particular system. So if you followed all that, that's really nice. And if you didn't follow it, I guess you should rewind and go through it a little bit more slowly, and you'll understand it's a little crafty and it is confusing. A lot of programmers get confused by this. As I told you, this is just a very conceptual way of looking at it. Obviously, there's no sheet of paper which is hanging around or being passed around. Internally, all this happens in a fraction of a second. So when you are on this site, suddenly it will pop up saying that, do you want to log in through Facebook? And then momentarily you are taken to Facebook or whichever site you want to log in through, and then you are back here again very fast. So internally, all the token passing, signing and all that is going on, and that happens very fast, and then you are happy here and you are back. You are legally allowed to come into this site and start enjoying this particular establishment or site. If you notice, the reason why this is done is so that this chap is able to get in customers without the usual friction. What I mean by friction is that if this guy did not have a Facebook or something and a login through Facebook system, what would he have done? He would have had to say that, okay, you are interested in my site. Okay, first register. So to register, please give me your email address, then set a username, password, all that. Then I'll confirm your email address to know if was it really you or was it your ex-girlfriend who has used your name on your behalf or something like that. So you get a confirmation mail, and then you have to then confirm that, and then you come back here and say, I've got a confirmed registration and here is my password for that particular registration, please let me in. Now all that is also quite a lot of friction. So the OAuth system was invented, at least the original intent was to authenticate people who are on another site already and use that authentication to get authenticated here also. Now the term authentication in case of this system is a very simple question which it has to address. The question is that, are you going to be the same person every time you come here, or is that person going to be different? So authentication just means that, are you the same identity again and again every time you use this system? And that is an essential property of being authenticated, right? If you give that authentication to somebody else and this person doesn't know whether it's somebody else, he will just treat that it is the same person who has come in again and again, and that's good enough for them. What is a deficiency? What these OAuth people did not tell you very clearly, and that is added to the confusion, is remember this guy and this guy had made an agreement, right? And they decided that okay, they're going to agree on a particular signature so that those chits which gets passed around are all properly identified by these two parties. So when the chit comes here, this guy knows that it came from here, and when you got that chit for the countersign and then went here, this guy again knows that it is that same chit, and this guy also knew it was the same chit. During that process, what this guy slips in is that not just that you get identified, but it also says that please send me that guy's email address and his birthday and his marriage anniversary and his list of friends also. I want that also because I'm interested in that here. Because this guy may be a sweet shop and who wants to send you a free gift on your wedding anniversary or something like that. Now, you didn't realize it. So when all this token passing was going on, when you returned here, this guy actually has been authorized by you. You authorized it. You didn't realize it. But the you meaning the customer. The customer is accidentally or inadvertently authorize this chap to release that data to you. It is called delegated authorization. That means the user has kind of agreed to tell Facebook, say if this is Facebook, he is agreed to delegate to Facebook and ask Facebook that whenever that guy comes, you can give him my email address, you can give him my phone number, you can give him my whatever this guy had asked. Now you may wonder how come I didn't notice it. Actually, it is made clear to you when you say login through Facebook. It says that this particular website is trying to log in through Facebook, and when you log in through Facebook, this guy will get your email address, your phone number, your birthday, your marriage anniversary, your list of friends, and even the capability to post here sometimes. Now, in that hurry of wanting to get here, you didn't read all that fine print and you said, okay, whatever. Okay, I just want to get in here. Now, what happened is OAuth ended up distorting and conflating, if you can say, between authentication, which is to say, are you the same person again and again whenever you come to that site, and what is known as, it also conflated it with authorization. Your data, some of your data is given to that other site. Now, this has created a lot of havoc. One of the issues with Cambridge Analytica issue which happened and how they ended up manipulating and collecting data points, as they call it. They have 5,000 different pieces of data about that person in Facebook, which is analyzed, and data analytics and AI patterns were made on that, and they identified those set of people who are on the borderline between yes or no for the Brexit vote, and they were able to then send targeted ads and a lot of lies also, Anyway, that's that you can read separately and see the movie called The Great Hack, which explained how this happened. Basically, what happened is, initially it was an innocent requirement that people who are registered here should be able to use their registration here also without much discomfort, with as less friction as possible. And the coders went away, did all the coding for OAuth, and they were able to connect Facebook to their site, and they thought, oh God, my need for getting users are now satisfied, and I can go home and I'll get my users to come into my site with least friction. Now, there are sites which uses the login through Facebook concept, this OAuth system, purely for authentication, and they are the good people. But there are lots of them who are also taking additional information from Facebook. For example, many of them are asking for your email address. Now, you may think that is pretty innocent. Okay, let Facebook give my email address, doesn't matter. Poor fellow, he's taken the registration, he doesn't want me to set the username and password, but at least let him get the email address. So this guy, the new fellow, he sends you a welcome message for having joined this new site to your email address. And then you wonder, how did he get his email address? My email address. How did this guy get my email address? Okay, fine, maybe through Facebook he got. Then after a few days it says, we miss you, you're not coming here. And then you wonder, oh my God, he misses me. and I have to go back to that particular site. Or a few days later it says that, why don't you upgrade your account for this thing? Again it comes. So your email is now getting all cluttered with all kinds of polite and impolite messages and spam. Actually, spam is not just something which is bad, but there are many good messages which eventually turns bad and becomes spam, and that is something which none of this email software can really detect. How does things become bad? Like if one welcome message from the CEO is fine, but if he sends 50 welcome messages, then you're going to be seriously irritated, and your email is not really going to detect whether the other 49 messages were spam. So it's all become a mess. So you have loss of privacy, your delegated data about you from one side to the other side, and you didn't realize that you have delegated data. And on top of it, remember that the username and password system has actually not been eliminated. It's not that Facebook doesn't have a password and username for you. It does have that. And therefore you have to still remember that password, and this password being stored inside that particular system, that is inside Facebook. And in many other sites, you go to that site and get registered there conventionally, not using OAuth. You again are going to get usernames and password there also. So each of us on the internet today are filled with, I have to remember this username and password and that username and password. Now there's a whole cottage industry of password managers to help you in that, which is a different set of issues there, which I won't get into, not in this talk at least. And so what is happening is that you have the internet comes up with one faulty system, and then to rectify that faulty system, you have another cottage industry to rectify that, and then you have to rectify the one which rectifies the problem, which has to be further rectified, and on it goes. And we are filled with all these imperfect systems. Not just that, this OAuth system itself was supposed to be standard. That means everybody should implement OAuth system. That means suppose I were to I'm a programmer and I'm inventing the OAuth system for my own website, say for Facebook, and once I implement it, I should be able to use the same system for Google also, and for Twitter also, and anybody else who has got an OAuth system. So it should not say that login through Facebook, it should say login through any other OAuth system. But it doesn't, because each of these corporate entities slightly change the standard here and there to suit their own requirements, supposedly for better privacy or what have you. And suddenly the programmers who are actually programming for this OAuth system is facing all kinds of slightly differing standards, which creates a huge headache for every programmer. As it is, OAuth system, as you may have seen in my talk, is not very easy to really fully understand. What is all this token passing and signing, and then you have to further sign that, and then all that. It's one complex set of things which needs to be done. What is the answer? Now the answer is homing space. Now I invented homing space as a very simple, elegant system which allows each user to store his or her own way to authenticate himself or herself through the homing space into any site. Obviously the site people will have to do the coding as per the homing space specification, and the homing space specification will not change because it is set by homing space. Homing space only job is to allow for distributed authentication and authorization. It does not have any other agenda. Not just that, homing space is actually not storing anybody's username and password. It stores only username, It doesn't store the password of that user, which makes people wonder, how the hell does homing space authorize people? So for that, I have a separate video which explains how the homing space system works. Basically, what the end result is, let me explain the end result experience. Let's say there is a website which uses homing space. You go to that website, and it says that, do you have a homing space username? You say yes, you supply that username, and in a moment you are actually on that site, because it comes back to you into your phone browser. The phone browser does some activity in the phone browser, not on the homing space server, which is where the breakthrough is. And we use some audited cryptographic code which works inside the browser, and that browser tells that merchant it's me, and every time I come and use this, it will be me only and nobody else, because I have the phone and that phone has that browser, and that browser has that specific secret keys which allows me to be me at any site. So your end experience is very simple. Like, you just go to the site, you ask for it'll ask for the homing space, it'll create some encrypted codes, gets it back to your browser on your phone, not on homing space server. Homing space server was used only to set up the accounts, nothing else. It doesn't store your keys or anything of that sort. It doesn't store your private key. I'll explain that in detail later. So homing space is a very good alternative which is strongly recommended for all software programmers, for all startups who want members, because if you notice, just like login through Facebook, the advantage for a startup is that when you use homing space, you already get all the people who are already enrolled in homing space. So, I mean, isn't that nice that you are actually getting a pre-built audience, a pre-built set of members for your own site? And that's how I am trying to replace the OAuth system. The OAuth system, if you were to see the history of that, one of the key persons involved in OAuth wrote a big, nice little blog article and resigned from it because he found the whole thing too messy and people are modifying it to suit their own interest. And you have issues like the Cambridge Analytica problems and many other issues which is there. I have a separate video where I've explained the kind of skullduggery and thieving which has happened. People are robbing email addresses and passwords, and you are in a big mess. So that's an explanation of both OAuth and why OAuth should go away. I hope it dies a nice death, and all the people who are using OAuth, I hope you look at this particular homing space system and adopt that instead of using the earlier systems for authentication. You will have a much better world, and I'm hoping that this system, which is the world's first distributed authentication system, nobody owns it as such. Even I don't own. I know my company knows only the usernames, nothing else. We know the public keys also, but nothing else. It's nothing very secretive. I don't know people's phone numbers. I don't know their email address. We don't even use those. Okay. Thank you so much.